All right, guys, we're back again. Today, this is going to be a video. It's going to be a video series, probably 4 or 5 part video. I'm going to be posting every day from today. So today, as you can see here, I'm showing you a Peerless boiler purifier, which has pretty much crapped out. The screen, it's not working anymore. There's a little electrical issue with the unit. There's a leak from the gauge. The expansion tank is full. And the biggest problem of all is the customers having, since it was installed, problems with his heating and then also with his hot water in the winter. As you can see here, it's piped up wrong, and every time the heat turned on, it used to heat up also the indirect, and the water used to be extremely hot because it just kept on heating up when the heat was on. So you can see here, whoever installed it piped it up wrong. They put the circulator after the heating zones. It should have been before. So we're just gonna cut everything out, and we're gonna make it nice and fancy. We're gonna pull a Navien in here. So this is gonna be a video for more or less homeowners to see how contractors would transform this mess into a nice, beautiful wall hung combi unit. And yeah, you guys professionals could see these videos, and you could critique my work and let me know what you would have done different. And so probably down on the third or fourth video, that's when the professionals are going to come in and start critiquing my work. But this is what I do, and this is what I love doing. So you guys be prepared for artwork at the end. Well, I believe it's artwork. You guys will let me know. So first thing is first, you could guys see here, there's 5 zones. The customer has 5 thermostats, but you can see here, I got to try to decode this rat nest of electrical you see here. The electrician, whoever did this, just bunched up all the thermostats and all the Honeywell zone valve wires all bunched up. Nothing was labeled, so I have to decode everything because, like, again, the new unit, I got to try to fix the issue he's having of when he turns on one thermostat, it heats up another room, and also it heats up vice versa. So he's never able to control the thermostat correctly to heat up the appropriate zone. So my thing is, most likely they piped up something inverted. And another thing you'll know at the end of this video, more or less, you're going to see us blowing air through the lines to see which is the feed, which is the return. And we figured out that there's actually a split zone in this system. So there's going to be one of the zones which ends up being the first floor that's a split zone, and they tied it in wrong. So that's why he was having that issue. But meanwhile, I got to try to decode all these zone valves and mark the thermostat wires. That way when I put everything back together, I'm going to know which goes to what zone. Obviously, the split zone would have to get fixed, piped up correctly, and wired to the right thermostat. But anyhow, I keep on working with this rat nest, and it's just a pain. Just wires everywhere. Thermostats are like at the end of the room, and I'm just having my guy trace back and turning the thermostat off, turning it on, doing continuity test, make sure that's the thermostat we're working with. And I start labeling the thermostat wires that go to the zone valves. Well, supposedly they go to the zone valves. But anyhow, I decoded it more or less to what I think it's going to be. And I start cutting everything out. So this is where the magic starts happening. We start getting rid of all this mess. We took out all the electrical. And now, since all the electrical's labeled thermostat-wise, I don't have to worry about anything else. I can just start going crazy. I know a lot of contractors, they just go in here, start draining everything, cutting everything out crazy. And then at the end, when they're wiring everything up or piping everything up, they got to backtrack and figure out which thermostat goes to what zone and vice versa. I like taking my time beforehand, make sure everything's labeled. That way at the end, when I start wiring everything up or putting everything together, I know which goes to what zone. So as you can see here, I got my trusty assistant here just looking at me pretty much. And I get the Sawzall and start cutting it out. Once I start cutting out, he's gonna start trashing everything up because we like a clean workspace. As you can see, this is a little tight area we're working in. It's like a little alleyway. So once we get everything moving, we start cutting along and we start cutting everything out. So we like separating everything when we're cutting. That way we can scrap everything correctly, brass and copper. So you can see here I start using the Sawzall, cutting out everything little pieces by little piece. That way we can fit it in buckets and take them out pretty easy. So you can hear I just got a bucket waiting on everything to drain more or less. I already ran a hose to a sump pump pit that's behind me. You can't see it in the video because again, this angle, I'm sorry guys, I couldn't get a better angle anywhere. The wall's right against us, so there's no other better angle. Later on, you'll see I start moving the camera around, trying to get a better angle for you guys to see exactly what we're doing. But this is the angle for now. That expansion tank was super heavy and super tight. It was full of water, like I said, so that was definitely not doing anything. So once we got it out there, we had it drained into the pit. That way we could take it out nice and easy and take it to the scrap yard. Again, I should have left it full, get more money, get 20 more cents with the full expansion tank, but it's easier for me to take it out. So we take the water out. So nonetheless, I get the Milwaukee copper cutter. That thing works beautiful, especially for a big job like this that you're working with copper. It cuts fast, cuts clean, and it's a lot better than using a regular copper cutter. So as you can see here, I'm cutting all the returns supposedly, which there are 6. But in the beginning, you saw there was 5 zone valves. So technically, there's only 5 zones here. So one of them has got to be a split zone. And like I said, I determined it was the first floor that was a split zone. So we end up fixing that at the end. So we start cutting out everything. And the good thing about this Peerless boiler, it's super light. You know, it's a stainless steel heat exchanger, so it's not a cast iron. And it's real light. The thing is, where installed this boiler kind of screwed up also. They use black pipe. I don't recommend using black pipe, especially with the new circulators, ECM circulators. Any metal will get built up in the magnet of the circulator, and it just kills the circulator a lot easier and not good for the heat exchangers also. So try to keep it all copper or brass. That way you don't have to build up that oxide inside the units. And if you do have to use black pipe, add a magnetic filter, especially if you're using any black pipe, or if you have cast iron baseboards in the house, use a magnetic filter, catch as much metal debris inside the system. I didn't show you guys, but this water was extremely dirty, very black, a lot of sludge in it. So any new unit that I install, I always do a cleaning solution through the whole system. That way it doesn't dirty my new system, heat exchanger or anything like that. So once it's all piped up, I run a X100 Sentinel, X800 first. That's the cleaning solution. And then once that goes through the whole system for a couple hours, I drain it and then I add X100. So as you can see here, we didn't even bother with the hand cart because we just carried everything out. Everything was super light. The amp troll doesn't weigh anything. And like I said, this Peerless boiler weighs nothing compared to a cast iron boiler. So we just drained it as much as possible into the pit on the corner. Once it was bone dry, then we carried it out. We were lucky enough, there was a bulkhead door that we came out of, so it wasn't too far of a hike. But we carried everything out nice and easy. So once we get this little mini monster out of here, we start cleaning up the area because we need a clean area so we could start from scratch. So I walk in here and I see the mess. You guys gonna see all the pipe-ins is just hanging everywhere. I have some labeled, some not labeled. You gotta remember I got hot and cold here also mixed. So we got feed, returns, hot and cold. So I just try to ignore that and then just move forward. After that, we start building up a wall for the new units. We used 2 pieces of plywood on there. We did a frame around it. We hung it up and we start painting. So once my guy starts painting everything up, we have to wait a little while so it could dry up so we could start moving to the next step. Meanwhile, while he's painting, I'm thinking what I'm going to do with all these zones. And I determined I'm just going to have to go old school way like I always do. Get my Milwaukee pump and start pumping air to the pipes that are not labeled. So I could determine where is the split zone and what is the feed and what's the return. So I grab my gauge, Milwaukee pump, and I start pumping through any pipe. Want to see where it comes out. So once I determine where it comes out, I label it. Either do numbers, do letters. Just make sure that you know that one's a feed and what's a return. Because this is a split zone. Ends up being, like I said, and it's a loop system. So one's got to be a feed and one's got to be return. If it was a manifold system, there's a different story, but this is a loop system. So definitely there's got to be one return and one feed. In this case, there was one feed and two returns, which made it the split zone, which was piped up wrong. And that's why they were having some rooms getting hot and the other ones weren't at different times. So we get the pump and we start pumping them through other pipes and see where they come out. And as you can see here, it came out of that pipe from the top, which is 1 inch. That's what definitely made me think it's a split zone somewhere, because they ran 1 inch and then everything else was 3/4. So definitely they ran 1 inch, then they split it somewhere for the split zone and just returned back to 3/4. I'm going to be honest, I hate when they do this, but old school guys, they used to do this all the time, split zones. It was less pipe, a lot easier to run, and that's what they did. So I was gonna, usually if it's a short run and I could determine where it is, I'll go back, take that out, and I run 2 pipes back to the boiler room. In this case, this was probably maybe like 80 feet long across the basement. So it was just too much pipe, too much work to deal with, all the drop ceiling, things like that. So we just left it how it is, and we just piped it up as a split zone. But we used the 1 inch as the feed and the 2 returns 3/4, and we do isolation valves on everything. That way we could bleed the system correctly and everything will work correct. So this is the only time I use shark bite. This is what I use to pump up the air so I could determine what goes to where. The episode 2 is going to come out tomorrow. If you like and subscribe, you'll know when it comes out. See you on the next one. See ya.